Welcome everyone to another episode of Follow the Light Music Review. My name is John DeLaurentis, and today I'm going to be doing a special episode where I'm going to be looking at my top 5 favorite guitarists in Christian rock and metal. So before we get into that, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel, that you would like the video, that you would comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say about the content of this video, and ring the bell so you can get notifications for future episodes and series that I'm going to be adding to the channel as the channel grows. So I really appreciate your support. All right, so let's get right into it. So my top 5 favorite Christian guitarists in rock and metal. All right, so there's a lot of great guitar players in Christian music, some of them unsung, and some of them, laboring behind the scenes. And there's a lot of studio musicians that have created some great work in terms of guitar work, lead guitar work. I think I mentioned one that there was a studio musician, Mark Christian, that does one of my all-time favorite guitar solos on the Fireworks Shadow the Darkness album. But these particular ones that I've chosen for my top 5 are probably all very well known to the audience. But these are ones that I feel that meet my criteria for me as being both a skilled guitarist and musician, and also as a songwriter. All 5 of these individuals that I've chosen are all songwriters, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about them, and I'm going to give you what I feel for me are their essential albums, and also some of my favorite songs. And of course, my favorite songs can change from day to day, but these are ones that are classics for me. But again, all 5 of these guitarists have all got a lot of music out there that you can explore. So we're going to go over that. All right, so let's start with number 5. So my number 5 choice for my in my top 5 favorite Christian guitarists in rock and metal is Ken Tamplin. All right, so Ken Tamplin, of course, he first appeared on record with the band Joshua. He was on their album Surrender, which came out in 1985. A few years after that, we got that AOR powerhouse of a group named Shout, and they released their debut album, It Won't Be Long, in 1988. And then in that band is when we saw Ken Tamplin's shredding abilities, his songwriting abilities, his singing abilities. We can't forget about his powerful 5-octave range vocals that also were on display on those albums. And then, of course, he also released another album with Shout called In Your Face. And then there was a third one that came out many years later called Shout Back. But a lot of catchy songs he's written: Living for My Lord, Borderline, Faith, Hope, and Love are just a few of the great songs that he composed. And when he began his solo career, there's been many highlights in that particular area as well. And he's got lots of solo albums. And the things with Ken Tamplin is that his solo work is varied. It's not just the hard rock metal type sound that he was initially associated with. He's also explored some other musical avenues and shown that he can be a songwriter in different kind of genres as well. So his catalog across the board, if you explore it, is very varied and shows that he is truly a great musician and songwriter. So I feel like, he can shred on the fretboard, but he can also play acoustic guitar, do some more mellow stuff, and venture into, like I said, different musical genres like soul and jazz. Some of these things have exhibited themselves on some of his recordings. So I'm going to look at a few of these I'm going to share with you that I feel are essential albums that if you're looking to explore Ken Tamplin, if you're not familiar with his music or you're not in possession of any of his work in your collection, these are ones I would think, for me, are essential albums. So the first one is Shout, In Your Face. All right, this is the second Shout album, tour de force. Lots of great songs in here, including the title track, which has guest lead guitarist shredding through the end of it. And really, really fantastic representation of the band Shout. Next one I would choose in the essential would be Ken Tamplin's An Axe to Grind. And this one was released under Ken Tamplin and Friends. So it has quite a lengthy song listing on here, some great songs on here, also showing Ken Tamplin's songwriting skills and guitar skills. Then when we get into some of his later solo work, Tamplin, the self-titled Tamplin album, Ken Tamplin. I believe this one here, and this is the original issue of the CD. This was reissued by Girder Records, but this one I feel may be the pinnacle for me of his solo work, the best solo album he's done. He's got a lot of good albums out there, but this one is really, really fantastic. And if you were asking me what would be the defining album to explore Ken Tamplin for the first time, it would be this one, the Tamplin album. This was originally released on Benson Records. And then, of course, I got to give a shout out for this one, Stand Up and Shout. This was the Girder Records kind of box set collection, 4 CDs. And this one is great because it has not only a lot of the classic Ken Tamplin albums, songs from the classic Ken Tamplin albums, but it also includes, as you can see here on the hype sticker on here, that there's 22 unreleased songs on here and 6 new exclusive versions, and a 3,700 word essay, which that is the essay, probably the longest essay I've ever written on these albums. The ones that I've done, but I wrote that 3,700 word essay that comes inside here in the booklet, and talking about Ken Tamplin and his musical history. I go through all of that in here. So again, if you just want to get one single CD, Ken Tamplin album, I would say, but if you want to explore the varied musical avenues that Ken Tamplin is capable of, this is a great compilation of songs, Stand Up and Shout. So I would highly recommend that. And if I was looking at what are some of my favorite Ken Tamplin songs, I would say Don't Let the Sky Fall on Me. That's from the Tamplin album. Probably my favorite Ken Tamplin song. I just absolutely love this song. It's kind of a bluesy White Snake type song with the David Coverdale kind of vocal style that Ken Tamplin works on. It's just a great song. Borderline, great song, great classic rock song. Living for My Lord, which also had a very excellent video that went along with it. The Story of Love, another a later track of Ken Tamplin that came from the Wake the Nations CD. Great song. And Stormbringer. Now, Stormbringer is an unreleased track that's on that Stand Up and Shout album, and it's a great Ken Tamplin song. It's not a cover song. It's an original song called Stormbringer. Some people might think Deep Purple had an album named Stormbringer and a song named Stormbringer, which is a phenomenal song I love. But that's not this song. This is a original composition by Ken Tamplin called Stormbringer that's on there. So that's my number 5 pick for in my top 5 favorite Christian guitarists in rock metal. So let's move on to number 4. So my number 4 spot belongs to Michael Sweet, of course, best known for his work with Stryper. And of course, as a member of Stryper, Stryper had such an influence and an impact in Christian metal, as well as reaching into an arena that most bands were not making inroads into. And I'm talking about the mainstream market. Stryper was released on Enigma Records, which was a mainstream label, and they went on to great success with their albums and having videos on MTV. You know, I remember, they had the call in for your favorite metal videos or your favorite videos, and I remember the song Free was number 1 for a number of weeks on there. And I remember Calling In at the time, watching MTV and Calling In, and that kept hitting the #1 spot for a while. So they made inroads, and they're still going strong. And I picked Michael Sweet because he's a phenomenal guitar player who has a sound that's very distinct to himself, and a great guitar tone, great lead guitarist, but also great melodies. And he's a phenomenal songwriter. He just has that gift of writing very melodic songs. And so he's also, I would call, one of the busiest men in metal rock music, because he's done a lot of side projects. Some of the ones he's been involved with is Soul Driver, Sun Bomb. He's done some albums with Lynch from Dokken, Sweet and Lynch albums. He's also another band called Iconic he's been involved with. And also, at one point in the past, he was chosen, and he's got to be a good musician to be chosen, by Tom Schultz of Boston. But he was in Boston for a time as a touring member with Boston at that time. Just incredible songwriter, incredible guitar player. And what would I say are some of the essential albums if you want to explore the guitar work of Michael Sweet? Well, my favorite Stryper album, still to this day, is Soldiers Under Command. And of course, you can hear the great guitar work of Michael Sweet on here. Also, Oz Fox. Oz Fox could easily be on this list as well. Also a great guitarist as well. But I'm going with Michael Sweet because Michael Sweet also has been the primary songwriter of the Stryper material. And of course, all his solo albums that he's done as well. So this would be essential for me. Another one would be essential, of course, the seminal To Hell with the Devil. Okay, and this is the one that has that song Free on it, and a number of other classic songs on there. And there are some ballads on these two albums that some people would say are syrupy sweet, but there's a lot of fans of those songs. And I think, Michael Sweet's vocal range lends itself to be really melodious for those kind of songs. Another one I would choose from the Stryper canon is Fallen. And this, of course, opens up with that tour de force Yahweh song that's on here. So this is a latter day Stryper who've just been incredible in the releases they've been coming up with. And speaking of that, I also have on the list their latest album, When We Were Kings. Now, this got mixed reviews. Initially, I didn't care for it as much when I first listened to it, but man, this is an album that is, like I said in my review of it, is a grower, and I think it's one of their best latter-day albums. So if you still think, oh, it's not as good, go back and listen to it. It's a really strong album. And then I got to include one of his solo albums in here, and I would choose the very first Michael Sweet album, that first Michael Sweet solo album, as a really good depiction. And of course, this is not a duplication of Stryper. A little bit more, maybe on the more melodic, more pop rock sound, but really good strong writing on this one here. So some of my favorite songs across the Michael Sweet canon would be the songs that he's done with Stryper: Soldiers Under Command, the title track; classic To Hell with the Devil, title track of that album; More Than a Man, another fantastic song; Yahweh, which I just mentioned from the Fallen album; Transgressor, fantastic opening track on the In the Battle, I believe, CD; Betrayed by Love, probably my favorite ballad by Michael Sweet. It's on the new When We Were Kings album, and it's just an absolutely fantastic thing. I think The Final Battle is what I meant, not In the Battle, for that other song, Transgressor. And then solo, I love the song I Think You Hear Me Knocking. That's a great song. And I remember I had a demo cassette that I sent away from Michael Sweet, which had forced demo tracks that ended up appearing on this album. And it was kind of a raw version of it. I almost, in some sense, like some of those demo versions better. I wish they would have been, I wish this album would get a re-release and they put those demos on there so you could hear them in their raw state before they were polished up for this album here. But I Think You Hear Me I Think You Hear Me Knocking, rather, is a great rocking song from that album. So Michael Sweet coming in at number 4. Number 3, Rex Carroll. another guitar shredder who can write some classic riffs in metal. Now, Rex Carroll, I believe, he's technically good enough to pull off solo tracks, which he's done a number of these on the White Heart albums. I'm not on the White Heart albums, the White Cross albums. And he's good enough to hold his own up against someone like Eddie Van Halen. You might say, what? But yes, listen to tracks like his workout Jackhammer on the latest White Cross album. You know, he does like Eddie Van Halen Eruption type guitar solo. He's a brilliant guitar player, good songwriter, and he's also, after the White Cross, of course, you know, he left White Cross. White Cross did continue on for a time without him, and now, of course, the latest incarnation of White Cross with the Fear No Evil album, White Cross is back with Rex Carroll at the helm there. And he also, you may not know this, but Rex Carroll possesses a bachelor's degree in classical guitar performance from Northern Illinois University. So this is a man who really is a shredder, but knows the guitar. And of course, Rex won many times in the Heaven's Metal Magazine Guitar Hero Award. He won a few times. In addition to his time with White Cross, he's also played with the bands King James, The Bleed, Fierce Heart, as well as releasing some solo material. He's also the recipient of 2 Dove Awards with White Cross that were received for the albums Triumphant Return and In the Kingdom. And again, he's also, another thing you may not know about Rex is he's recorded sound libraries that have been picked up by ESPN for NFL highlights. And he placed 3rd in the North American competition sponsored by Guitar Player magazine. And also in 2010, Rex was part of a tribute album for the late Deep Purple guitarist Tommy Bolin. Remember, Tommy Bolin was the guitarist who replaced Ritchie Blackmore. Had some big shoes to fill, but Tommy Bolin was a phenomenal guitar player who unfortunately died too young at age 25 through drug excess and just living the rock and roll lifestyle. But there was a tribute album done, and Rex Carroll was a part of it. He played guitar on a particular song called Glory Train that's on there. It's called Mr. Bolin's Late Night Revival, if you're interested in looking for that. And he penned that one song, Ghost Train, on there. So what would I say as our essential albums? And I don't have the physical of all of these, but of course, the very first White Cross album, I remember when this first came out, I was blown away by it. And of course, there was the comparisons to Rat, because Stephen Pearcy, the original lead singer, does kind of have a voice that's Stephen Pearcy. Stephen Pearcy is the vocalist in Rat, and that's what I'm comparing for. But we're talking about, and my mind for some reason is jogging away from me here. But the lead vocalist of Scott Wenzel. I had one of those moments where I just forgot for a minute. But yeah, Scott Wenzel was the original lead vocalist for White Cross, and of course his voice is like Stephen Pearcy in Rat. But this is a great album. I remember getting this when it first came out and just being blown away with it, sharing it with a friend who is looking for some Christian metal. And this is a great pure metal release. So I would consider that essential. Also, In the Kingdom. This is a really strong album that I think is definitive. And again, you might say Hammer and Nail and Triumphant Return, they are great too as well. I'm just picking a few essential albums I think you should have. And then I would also include the latest White Cross. So of course, Fear No Evil got a little bit of flack because it's not Scott Wenzel singing on here, but this new vocalist in here is fantastic, and I just absolutely love this album. This was one of my picks for one of the best albums of 2024. So check it out. It's got some really great tracks on it. I would also recommend King James Maximus album as another essential album in the Rex Carroll canon of things to pick up. And also, I would also pick the Rex Carroll band, That Was Then, This Is Now, more kind of a bluesy side of Rex Carroll on that album. And again, showing his versatility as a guitar player. So Rex Carroll for sure. Those would be the ones I would choose as essentials. For some of my favorite songs, with White Cross, Enough Is Enough. Take It to the Limit, No Second Chances, We Know It's Right, Blind Man, that's on the new album. Fantastic kind of, almost has like an Eastern Greek type sound musically with the instrumentation on it. Just an absolutely great song that I love. Man in the Mirror, great song with King James. I would say Hard Road to Go is a great song. Rex Carroll Band, Working Man's Blues. And also check out Ghost Train on the Tommy Bolin tribute album. Great guitar work on there. I think that would be another one of my favorite songs from Rex Carroll. All right, now we're up to number 2. Who is the number 2? Well, none other than Kerry Livgren is my number 2 pick. And Kerry Livgren, of course, didn't start out in Christian music. He started out with Kansas, and musical genius. And even in Kansas, his lyrics were always having these spiritual focus to them. He was always moving forward, looking and searching for something deeper. And of course, it finally came to full circle when he accepted Christ. Just an incredible guitar player, but not only an incredible guitar player and a very accomplished keyboardist as well, and a brilliant songwriter, which I think Kerry Livgren has composed some of the greatest songs released in progressive rock music. And so after his conversion to Christianity, then he went on to release some albums with AD, which are fantastic, and as a solo artist. Now, this is something you may have heard of or may not have heard of, but you know that Kansas has three iterations. There's what's called Kansas 1. Kansas 1 was a combination of the members from the bands Saratoga and White Clover. And the lineup was the classic lineup that we know. It was Kerry Livgren, Phil Ehart, Steve Walsh, Robbie Steinhardt, and Dave Hope. And actually, fun fact here, Dave Hope, the bass player, was the one who suggested that the band call themselves Kansas. And that lineup, what's called Kansas 1, that lineup lasted for a year. And then Ehart and Hope left the band in 1971. Kerry reworked the band and kept the name Kansas, which is now referred to as Kansas 2. And the members of that band were later referred to as Protocol. So you may have seen some of the releases from Protocol. Its demos that were recorded were released in 2002 on a collection called Early Recordings from Kansas 1971 to 1973. And then the original members of that Kansas 2 combination of members, they reunited in 2004 and recorded the album Before Became After. But the Kansas lineup that would go on to be the progressive rock powerhouse was actually Kansas 3, the third version of Kansas. And that was happening in 1973 when Ehart invited Kerry to join his new reformed White Clover band, which was the original lineup of the Kansas 1. And the rest is history, of course. But so if you've ever gotten a little bit confused what says Kansas 1, 2, and 3, that's hopefully I explained that to you well enough. But Kansas, phenomenal. What were some of the essential albums I would say from Kansas? Well, Song for America, which is a personal favorite of mine. I saw Kansas on the Don Kirshner's rock concert, and I asked my mother to go out and to purchase the first Kansas album. It was out of stock, but this one was there and she brought this home. So this one has kind of special memories to me, but just a fantastic, great album. I would also choose Kansas Mask album. Absolutely some brilliant songs on it. This is the one that has Icarus Born on Wings of Steel, Child of Innocence, The Pinnacles on here. Just some great songs on here. Of course, have to include Left Overture, one of the greatest prog rock albums of all time, with the classic, of course, Carry On Wayward Son opening this up. I would also include Point of No Return, another pivotal album. Includes the, Kerry Livgren's anthem, Dust in the Wind, on it. And of course, a lot of other great songs in here. And then later, Kansas, I would include Vital Confessions. Of course, this is when Steve Walsh was no longer in the band and John Elefante joined. Just a phenomenal album, different than the earlier stuff, but just still stellar songwriting and great work on it. Great songs on it. From the AD collection, I would choose Art of the State, Absolutely fantastic album. And of course, the one actually that came before it, which is Timeline, which was initially released under Kerry Livgren, AD. And this one came out on a mainstream label, CBS at the time, but has the AD lineup on here. Absolutely fantastic album from beginning to end. I would also include, of course, his first solo album that he did while he was still a member of Kansas, Seeds of Change, an absolute fantastic album, of course, with some phenomenal songs on that as well. And the Seeds of Change album, of course, has guest appearances from Ronnie James Dio, from Steve Walsh, from David Pack. Just a fantastic album. This one here, I kind of have this in like the solo type work. It was released under Kerry Livgren AD, Prime Mover, but it's not like a true band AD album. But I would say a really fantastic one. And then, of course, to show his musical dexterity, we have this one of several possible musics. This is a great instrumental album showing off the talent of Kerry Livgren. So those would be my essentials for Kerry Livgren, and those are essential albums. And then I would say some of my favorite songs from, there's just so many favorite songs, but you got songs like Mask of the Great Deceiver from his solo album. You have the epic Song for America, which is fantastic. Just so many great songs. It's hard to choose certain ones, but just some great songs across the Kansas catalog, and some, you know, it's hard for me to name favorite songs from Kansas and Kerry Livgren because there's just so many great songs to choose from in his catalog. Kerry Livgren is just a stellar songwriter, and those are just a few of the songs. But you know, there's other ones. You know, we can pick from here. He has a Portrait 2, which is kind of calling back to the original Kansas song Portrait on the Prime Mover album. Great songs on the Timeline album. Welcome to the War, the ending song, fantastic. Another great song on this one from The Art of the State, All Creation Sings, the opening track. From Vinyl Confessions, lots of great songs on here. Of course, the classic Crossfire, which led Steve Walsh to leave the band over. Just great. You know, I can go on. And then at some later date, I'm going to be doing a look at the discography of Kerry Livgren, from Kansas all the way up to his latest stuff. So look for that in the future on the channel. Who is my number one top favorite guitar player in Christian rock and metal? And of course, the metal would not be applicable for this particular artist, but it's none other than Phil Keaggy. Phil Keaggy is one of those musicians that was born with an incredible talent, not only as a guitarist, but as a singer. He's got a beautiful voice that's often been compared to the Beatles' Paul McCartney. Fantastic songwriter, and he's been in music, you know, almost since he was out of the womb, just to put it humorously. But he started in the 1960s with a band called The Squire, and now at age 74. He's still active. He's part of a new supergroup called the Cosmic Cathedral, which is coming out with an album in April of this year, which includes the prog rock genius Neil Morse is a part of that band. You also have Chester Thompson as the drummer, who's played with the progressive rock band Genesis, and you have Byron House, the bass player, and that's coming out. So look at from the 1960s to 2025, and Phil Keaggy is still, through all those decades, still putting out incredible music. And he began his solo career after Glass Harp. So he was in the band Glass Harp, like a super trio, power trio that opened up for a lot of big bands. They were on a mainstream label. And then from there, he went into his solo work in 1974 with the seminal "What a Day" album, and then his catalog of music proves that he is not only a fantastic guitar player in rock music, but he can do all different styles of music. He can do the blues, he can do jazz, he can do funkier stuff, just hard rock stuff, flamenco stuff, like the Spanish flavors that are on his Lights of Madrid album. Just staggering, and also the amount of musical output. At last count, this is from Discogs. He has 139 releases, and of course that's not even including all the many releases that are now being put out on his Bandcamp page, all the live concerts and all the other stuff that he's been involved with. He's also been on hundreds of different albums as a guest over the years. Just there's so much, and of course I'm such a Keaggy fan that I have pretty much everything he's ever put out, and I'm a subscriber to the Bandcamp, the $10 a month, so I have access to all of that stuff. But just an incredible output of music from one man, and so to pick some essential albums for Phil Keaggy, very hard, and this could change from day to day, but these are some of the ones I think that are important. What a Day, and this is the deluxe version that just came out, 3-disc version that came out, Retroactive Records, which has all kinds of in the studio songs from 2023 from What a Day. It has some demos and outtakes on it, just a definitive reissue of this classic debut solo album. Another one I would choose, Crimson and Blue, great, more bluesy hard rock album on here, some great tracks on that one. His self-titled Phil Keaggy album, I think, is one of the ones that may not be brought up as much, but this has got some great songs on it. Just a great vocal album. And these are the ones I'm doing first, the vocal albums. Find Me in These Fields, another really strong album from Phil. Great rock album. Then there's also the Way Back Home. Now this is my dub of it. From the Bandcamp files, which you finally meant. This, of course, this was released later on, Way Back Home, but it was altered. Some of the songs were re-recorded or remixed, and it's not the same as the original issue. So when Phil Keaggy made this available digitally in its original form, its original mix, I burned it down to CD for myself because I love the original mix of this one. The other version is good. But this one I love. So I would say that's essential. Of course, these ones are essential too. You know, you have and this of course is very hard to find. It would be great for these to get reissued. But you have the Flip Side album on here, Town to Town, and Play Through Me. All three great CDs. You can tell this was released a long while ago. This is what was called the Jewel Box Fat Box. Those are also essential. True Believer, another fantastic album of Kerry, includes his live staple, Salvation Army Band, one of the best songs he ever wrote. I would also have to include instrumental albums here of his, The Wind and the Wheat, one of my favorites. Great album. And then another rocking instrumental album called 220 is also another highlighted instrumental album. Beyond Nature, another instrumental album, which is absolutely fantastic. This one is more classically influenced and just fantastic. So this I wouldn't classify as rock, but just shows another side of Phil Keaggy, classic. And then back to the rock on this one, On the Fly, as great. This one includes an epic song called The Sojourner, which is 24 minutes. And from what I understand, from what I've read about that song, it's just a jam. It's a 24-minute jam where he goes in all these different directions. Fantastic. Lights of Madrid, great album with some Spanish flavored stuff on here, some classical stuff on here, showing you can do classical music as well. Just a great, another one of them. And then I would have to include the collaboration with Jeff Johnson, Cappadocia. Absolutely love this album. Just a phenomenal album, an album that has blessed me. And of course, he's done other ones with Jeff Johnson, but that's just a few. I mean, how do you pick from a catalog which has 139 releases? It's just fantastic body of work, but those are some of my favorites there. Some of my favorite songs, again, very hard to pick, but these are some of my favorites from Phil Keaggy. The song Time, Sounds, Salvation Army Band, Under the Grace, Let Everything Else Go, Way Back Home, Movie from the Getting Closer album, Find Me in These Fields, Chalice, The Wind and the Wheat is the title track of that album, In Light of Common Day from the Beyond Nature album, Praise Dance, which comes from the On the Fly album, Shades of Green, great instrumental, and Cappadocia, that song there. So just Phil Keaggy, without a doubt, hits number one spot for me of my top 5 favorite Christian guitarists in rock and metal, and also Phil Keaggy, my number one favorite artist in Christian music, without a doubt. So I know this was a long video. If you stayed to the end, we're hitting 35 minutes here, but to get through 5 guitarists and go through all of their, just sampling a little bit of their work and talking about them is going to take some time. So I really appreciate it if you made it all the way to the end of this video. I really appreciate it. And again, comment below. I would love to hear, who are your favorite guitar players? I know there's other ones, that are fantastic. Some other ones, maybe honorable mentions I could mention here at the end. Glenn Kaiser of the Resurrection Band would be another good choice. Dan Huff, who is in Whiteheart and is a session guitar player, another fantastic guitar player. These are just 2 other ones I can think of right now. But who would you choose? I would love to hear in the comment who your choices are for your favorite guitar players in Christian rock and metal. And I know there's a lot of them out there, but I limited it to 5. We could see the video is already this long, and just for 5. So I hope you enjoyed this content, this special episode here. And again, if you could subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it. And again, let me know what you think in the comments for your choices. And for what you would think are essential albums for your choices as well, or your favorite songs for those guitarists. I would love to hear and get a good discussion going in the comments for this video. So thank you for watching once again, and I would encourage you to follow the light that shines out of the darkness. God bless everyone.